we have a story about the Honda Hornet, specifically the Honda Hornet 1000cc version that's coming out, and possibly a bit of disappointment for some people if you were looking forward to it. There is a report that comes out of a German website, Motorrad, which they report that it's possibly postponed till 2025, and they say that's, well, it could potentially just be in Germany, but the hypothesis is, and I should reference the fact this was on Visor Down, that markets are linked, so if Germany was delayed, possibly the rest of Europe, including the UK, would be delayed till 2025.
It'd be really unusual, wouldn't it, to launch it in, you know, the UK, but then postpone it in Germany. That just really is rare that would happen. So
yeah, no, exactly. So with this one then, first and foremost, if you've not come across the bike before, you did a lovely account of it at the EICMA show.
Mate, one of my favourite bikes of the show,
really?
To be honest. Just for the idea that it would be a more affordable litre naked bike. You know, I think that's the general gist of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so in terms of the updates from the outgoing CB1000, so this one is still 4-cylinder Hornet. It's based on a previous Fireblade engine, I believe, 2017. It's actually down on torque but up on power, but roughly the same. I don't imagine it's going to feel a huge amount different to the CB1000. It's got a new subframe and it should be pretty aggressively priced. So that's kind of why you would get excited about it, I suppose. And actually, I'd say the 1000cc Hornet, or the bigger capacity Hornet, has always been something that people kind of get behind because based on, I mean, the original 600 and the 900, I think it was. People always said to get the bigger one because it was exciting. I think that's slightly less of an issue now because the 750 is a bit of a unique animal.
It's punchy, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not going for like. You're not going for a smaller 4-cylinder and then a bigger 4-cylinder where, yes, you probably want the bigger one for the extra sort of torque, so you don't have to rev it. This one, they're very different bikes, so there's a lot of contrast between them. But I'd say it is exciting for that reason. But yeah, one of the theories on it being delayed as well was the fact that they might want to phase it out, the CB1000, so that they have a sort of clean run with this one.
Yeah, the CB1000R, which, you know, it's been in the lineup for a while, and they did a mid-cycle update where they sort of changed the bodywork a bit, and I think they brought in a TFT display. But it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? Because that is such a distinctive bike. You know, there's plenty of more angular nakeds from the likes of your Suzuki, Kawasaki, maybe even to some extent something like an MT-10.
Yeah.
And what the CB1000R did really nicely was like that neo cafe retro design style that they've got, with a slightly rounded off headlight, and it also had some really tasty design features like the wheels that they put on it with this sort of cast but almost looked a bit spoked, single-sided swing arm. You know, some attention to detail had gone into it, and I think what people potentially didn't love about this bike, the CB1000 Hornet, is that it sort of did away with a little bit of that character and something that made it stand out. And this does look a bit more generic, sporty, naked bike. Yeah. But ultimately, some of those changes, like going to a regular swing arm and the wheels, I think, are probably less expensive to manufacture, especially because they're not single-sided again. You know, it's going to pull the price down. And ultimately, all of the chassis and the expected power, like you say, the expected torque looks the same. Some of the chassis components look similar. I think it's going to be every bit as good to ride. It's just as to whether you care about the looks or not. But yeah, and also totally agree, mate, that this now is such a different... It's not the two similar Hornets with a different capacity. Not just from the engine character, from a twin to a 4, going from 750 up to a litre, but also one thing about the 750 Hornet is like the way that the seat height is quite low to make it this middleweight all-rounder that's accessible to newer riders and also still quite fun to ride for more experienced riders. You know, it still does feel a bit low in the seat for me, and I'd expect this to feel much more like a big bike, sporty, a little bit tail up, feel like a bit of a weapon. And so I was really looking forward to it. It's sad that it's been a little bit delayed, but also we're in this period of time now, mate, where it's very rare for anything to get announced.
Well, that's what I was going to say is,
July.
What do you think the likelihood is? So first question is, do you think it's likely it would be delayed till 2025 instead of 24?
I think it'd be very strange to kind of launch it now, because realistically, most people have bought their bikes for the summer. Certainly sort of, if you had a month or two to wait to get hold of one, you're talking August now, September.
Yeah.
And if you launched it now,
you'd have to discount it potentially, right?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it would just for such a big new model, it would just be such a weird thing to do. And then also, if you did launch it now with the intention of it going on sale around December, January, where people can get their orders in and then get their bikes a couple of months later and then have them in time for the 2025 riding season, you know, you're going to go through the whole EICMA Motorcycle Live, the launch season, and there'll just be so many other new bikes fresh in people's minds since this was announced, you know, in the summer, that recency and the sort of the desire for it might have died off a bit. And so I think it's a bit of a funny one. We're in a bit of a strange period. It was weird because they announced it at EICMA, and it obviously created a bit of buzz, but it was a very short press release without all the usual in-depth specs and stuff like that that you would normally expect from Honda. That being such a big company, they're really well organized. Their press team will get you as much information as possible, and it was just more of a brief thing. So it kind of almost felt like it was in prototype phase.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't want to gloss over the fact that you made a pun around buzz there. So yeah, having a buzz around the Hornet.
Oh yeah, Hornet. Sorry.
No, you didn't notice it yourself either, but I just didn't want to let that one go.
That was like 2 minutes
ago.
Can't let that
one slip. Yeah, it logs in my brain.
Thanks,
but yeah, no, I can't imagine they're happy about it. Put it that way. I mean, they are still saying that it will be released this year. So they haven't actually confirmed to say it's delayed. This is kind of speculation to a degree, but I think you're right. I think the chances are, why would you release it in the winter when you're going to have to like put 0% APRs and stuff to kind of get people interested and do some special deals and things?
Exactly.
I can't see that happening. And like you say, if they've already kind of let the cat out of the bag, then next year when they go to EICMA and they go, oh, the Hornet, and people are like, yeah, we saw it. Like, there's nothing particularly exciting about it, so or at least new about it if other brands are going to go and launch new models. So
it's going to be a tough sell, that, isn't it, at the shows? It's not even like it is in a concept like the pictures they've given us. You know, it's got the mirrors on, it's got the license plate, it looks like it's homologated. So it's not even like they have a tasty concept and then they're going to give us the production version. It's just going to be the full specs and the price and maybe the confirmation that it actually does exist.
Yeah. Sure.
And so, yeah, it does feel like maybe a little bit underwhelming. They might have to put some flashy paint on it or do a special edition or something.
Or do what everyone does and have some ladies in scanty clothing.
Yes, that never fails
way to
get people to gather around. Honestly, actually filming at the Honda stand, there was a real mix of guys queuing up next to some of the bikes. Like they updated the Fireblade a little bit and then they brought the CBR600 back in as well. I was trying to get all the angles of like 10 different shots of the brake calipers and all that kind of thing. And there was some other guys there as well doing the sort of bike, but then you had a constant stream of guys who will happily trying, like these bold Italian guys. No, I don't mean bold like with no hair. I mean bold like brave Italian guys, like in their 40s, 50s, happy to go and try and chat up the girl on the Honda stand, thinking that they might be in with a shot. Well, that's what it felt like. They would chat to them for like 5 minutes, then ask for a little selfie, and then make their way onto the next stand. So, you know, you had to kind of work around them a little bit. I think I've said before that's always the challenge of shooting at motorcycle shows. But if they put the exact same bike out in the same colours, then hopefully I'll get a few more clean shots of it this year.
True. Do you like the looks of it? Because actually that's one of the things, that my other question is, do you prefer this to the CB1000? Considering that it does look quite similar to the rest of the market, the Kawasaki's, even the Ducati sort of street fighters and things, and Yamaha.
I think at the show, they had it in a flat red and this silver, and the flat red, a lot of people said the headlight looks very influenced by the Street Fighter V4, which I understand. But then again, there's only so many ways to... Well, it's a bit like when Ed Sheeran got sued for... copying someone's song, and he was like, there are kind of 8 notes that you can choose from and a few sequences, and there's a lot of common patterns.
I do get that.
Chances are eventually someone will, and I feel like probably for the front end of a naked sports bike, which with some LED headlights, like, you know, a bit of an aggressive frown.
For sure.
I mean, they're hardly going to give it a quizzical soft look, are they?
They should raise an eyebrow, give it the people's eyebrow.
Cock an eyebrow. Oh, that's like the asymmetrical BMWs. They always look a bit like they've got the people's eyebrow.
There you go. Yeah, I think for me it looks very similar. Like you say, most of them, they're all kind of going that way, which I don't personally like. I do prefer the looks of the CB1000, but then, it's been out for a while, so you need to update it in some way. I think the only one kind of bucking the trend in a way is like Suzuki are just stacking the headlights differently, but they're still going for 2, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm thinking about the looks on this bike as well is like, you remember they did the 750 design sketches and they released them like 6 months before the 750 actual version, and the design sketches look really aggressive, and then when the actual 750 Hornet was announced, people were a bit like, yeah, you've had to compromise quite a lot on that. This looks as aggressive and like butch enough to be similar to those design concept sketches for the 750 Hornet, and so I do kind of like it, but yeah, I think still the extra bling and design detail and sort of slight unusualness of the CB1000R are probably still a little more appealing. But how long can that look of bike be on the market before they have to move on?
True.